I'm 23 years old, and I've never had a girlfriend. I'm going to pause on that for a second, because I know that sentence lands differently depending on who's listening. Some people hear it and immediately assume something is wrong, either with me or with my life or with my choices. But I want to tell you something before we go any further. It's not an accident. It's not because nobody ever showed interest or because I'm broken in some way I haven't figured out yet. It's a decision I made for reasons that make complete sense to me, even if they don't make immediate sense to everyone else. And I think a lot of Gen Z is quietly making the same kind of decision right now, and nobody is saying it out loud clearly enough. So that's what this video is for. Let me tell you what my actual situation looks like right now, because I think context matters here. I don't have a stable income. I'm in university. The money I have covers what I need for myself: food, transport, the basic costs of being a student, and not much beyond that. There's no savings account with a meaningful number in it. There's no property. There's no car. What I do have is one motorcycle, a Superfit. It belongs to my dad, technically. He barely uses it anymore, so it's become mine in practice. That's my transportation. That's the asset. And when I look at that honestly, when I actually think about what a relationship requires in practice, not just emotionally, but materially, I can't make the numbers work. Not right now. A relationship isn't just feelings. It's going places together, which costs money. It's the social expectations that come with being someone's partner, which costs money. It's the implicit promise that you're building towards something together, and I'm not in a position to make that promise honestly yet. And I refuse to make promises I can't keep just to avoid being the guy who's never been in a relationship. Some people will hear that and call it overthinking. Maybe it is, but I'd rather overthink this than underthink it and end up in a situation where I'm asking someone to accept less than they deserve because I wasn't honest with myself about where I actually stand. There's another factor in this that I want to be upfront about because I think it connects. After vocational school, what in Indonesia we call SMK, the conventional path would have been to go straight into the workforce. A lot of my peers did exactly that, and there's nothing wrong with that path. But when I looked honestly at what I had learned and what I felt ready to do, I didn't feel like it was enough. Not enough to compete effectively, not enough to build anything meaningful, not enough to take seriously as a foundation for the kind of life I want. So I chose university, not because of the credential, because I felt like I needed more time inside an environment designed for learning before I was ready to enter an environment designed for performance. And that choice has consequences. Financial consequences, obviously. You don't earn much while you're studying. Time consequences. You're investing years now in the hope that it pays off later. And relationship consequences. Because the person you are at 23 while you're still building your foundation is not the version of yourself you want to be introducing to someone as a long-term prospect. I'm not saying that to be self-deprecating. I'm saying it because I think it's honest. The version of me that has something real to offer in a relationship is still being built. And I'd rather wait until that construction is further along than rush into something before it's ready. There's also something about who I am in social situations that's relevant to this. I'm not the guy who goes out of his way to get attention. In university especially, I'm not the one making himself visible to every girl in the class, not the one who turns every group project into a social opportunity, not the one whose campus story involves a lot of drama and romantic subplots. People sometimes call that being an introvert, but it's not quite right. I can talk to people, I can hold a conversation. I just don't feel the need to perform for people who aren't already in my life for a real reason. And in university, I'm there for something specific. I'm trying to get something out of it, a skill, an understanding, a foundation that I didn't have before. That focus means I'm not spending energy on things that don't contribute to that. Which probably sounds cold, and I'm aware of that. But I think there's a difference between being cold and being deliberate. I'm not indifferent to other people. I just have a clearer sense than I used to of what I'm actually there to do. And chasing girls in the hallway isn't it. Maybe one day it will be, just not at this specific stage of things. Real quick, if you're watching this and you're in the same boat, I want to hear it. Drop a comment. No judgment. Just curious how many of us are out here making the same quiet decision. And subscribe if you want to follow where this goes, because this conversation isn't done yet. Here's what I want to say about Gen Z more broadly, because I think my situation isn't unusual, it's just more honestly described than most people are willing to be. The narrative about Gen Z and relationships tends to frame it one of two ways. Either Gen Z is too self-absorbed to commit to anyone, or Gen Z is afraid of intimacy because of social media and modern culture. Both of those framings miss something. A lot of Gen Z is making a completely rational economic calculation. They look at what they have, what a relationship realistically requires, and what the gap between those two things looks like, and they decide to close the gap before trying to build something on top of it. That's not avoidance, that's sequencing. That's deciding to build the foundation before you try to put a structure on it. And I think there's something genuinely responsible about that decision, even though it rarely gets described that way. We're usually told that delaying relationships is a sign of emotional immaturity or fear. But I'd argue that entering a relationship you're not ready for, financially, emotionally, practically, is the less mature choice. Knowing what you're not ready for is a form of self-knowledge. It's not the same as giving up. There's also a generation-specific context here that matters. Gen Z came of age during economic conditions that made the traditional get a job, get a partner, get a house, get married significantly harder to execute in sequence. The parts of the sequence that require money got harder, so more people are staying in earlier stages longer. That's not a character flaw, that's a structural reality. So, what am I actually working toward? The honest answer is everything that currently makes me feel like I'm not ready. Stable income, something saved, position where the resources I have aren't just enough for me, they're enough for something more. I'm not setting a timeline on when that happens. I don't think arbitrary timelines serve anyone well. But I have a clear sense of what the conditions are that would make me feel genuinely ready to be a partner to someone, rather than a project they'd have to carry alongside me. And until those conditions are closer to being met, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Studying, building, figuring out what I'm actually capable of before I ask someone else to bet on it. If that makes me the odd one out among people my age who already have partners, that's fine. I'm not in competition with anyone. I'm on my own timeline, and I'm okay with that. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, single by choice or by circumstance, focused on building something before you try to include someone else in it, I just want to say that's a valid place to be. You're not behind, you're just being honest about where you are. If this video got you thinking, good, because the next question I want to tackle is one that connects directly to everything I just said. Is marriage even important for Gen Z? Because I have thoughts, and they might surprise you. That video is coming next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.